Hello, everybody, and good afternoon. Welcome to our presentation on Amadeus strategic shift to Confluence Cloud. My name is Herman Jan, and together with my wonderful colleagues, we will be sharing our story. So before we start, let me briefly introduce the crew. On my left side, we got Arun Kumar Mohan. Arun is our product manager for Confluence and other products at Amadeus. Next to Arun, we got Edda Haulsen. Edda is the project manager for our migration project to Confluence Cloud. She has been joining the project from the very beginning. And last but not least, we got Adina Begu from Atlassian. Adina has been joining the project about 1 year ago in her role as a cloud migration manager, and she has the important role to coordinate all the Atlassian teams in the background. And now, let's have a closer look what we have been preparing for you for this afternoon. We will be covering, obviously, the reasons for moving to Atlassian Cloud for Amadeus, and all the preparation work before launching the project. We will share insights on how the migration phase and in particular, the migration waves were organized. And finally, we will wrap up on the achievements and share with you our main key takeaways, so stay tuned. Let's start with the beginnings and maybe allow me a few words about our company Amadeus, just for those ones who never heard about Amadeus before. Amadeus is a technology company dedicated to the world's travel industry. Our technology powers the global travel and tourism industry. We offer cutting-edge technology solutions that help key players in the travel industry succeed in their business and shape the future of travel moving forward. And we do this on a truly global scale. We have prepared some figures. So back in 2023, Amadeus processed more than 450 million bookings, and our systems boarded more than 1.9 billion passengers. From airlines and other travel providers to search engines and other travel sellers, the world's top travel brands rely on Amadeus to help create exceptional traveler experiences. And this is pretty much aligned with Amadeus' ambitious purpose to make the experience of travel better for everyone and everywhere. Thanks to our passion for travel and for technology, we can share incredible insights and deep knowledge. Today, we want to share a little bit of this travel passion which is with all of us. So let's look at our project and the migration to Confluence Cloud as a journey from start to end. And as with every travel, there is a bit of a story that starts when you make up your mind for traveling. You might call it a trigger on the why and when. You choose your destination, your travel mates, and how you want to travel. And as you continue with your travel preparations, you generate some expectations. So let's look into all these aspects and then moving back to the year 2021, where all started. Hey, Arun, do you still remember our beginnings?
Thank you, Herman. First of all, good afternoon and a warm welcome. So before we deep dive on the Confluence Cloud migration journey, I want to set some context on how data center was positioned at Amadeus. So it was first established back in 2016 by DevOps community, and then later it got extended to different departments. So initially, when we did our assessment in 2021, before we migrated, we had around 8,600 spaces. Yes, you heard it right. It was 8,600 spaces, and then 6,000 personal spaces. In terms of attachments, we had 1.4 terabytes of data. And then in terms of users, we were having 15,000 people who were actually using data center. So if you ask me, the title says Mastering Complexity. So is that all the complexity? Definitely not, because this is just the volume. But the complexity lies within the content itself. Because we had spaces having more than 10,000 pages, and we were using 25 plus third-party apps, which were hosting a lot of macros, and we had tons and tons of macros inside our Confluence pages. And on top, we were using REST APIs to perform some automations, and a lot of users were relying on REST APIs for their automations, which brings us to the level of complexity that we had on our data center. And this sets the platform for us before we thought of moving to the cloud. Now, we want to know from you, Herman, what was the main decision? Also, how was the leadership convinced to move to the cloud? And what were the main drivers for this push?
Yes, so back in these days, back to 2021, Amadeus had just decided that all of our systems, no matter whether production or office, would go cloud. So that way, preparing our business case, we were assessing the different options that we would have to go cloud, be it hosted as infrastructure as a service, maybe in some Azure tenant, or benefit from the Atlassian offer, software as a service, to be hosted in the Atlassian cloud. To be honest, the commercial aspect did not play any key role. It was more rather aiming for operational excellence. Well, why operational excellence? At that time, we faced quite a lot of operational overhead with our infrastructure. Our workforce, consisting of 2 highly skilled engineers, was reaching their limits. Not only the workforce, but also we were constantly hitting with the infrastructure thresholds and limits, leading to frequent system outages, in the end, tedious troubleshootings and hardware upgrades. Talking about upgrades, major release upgrades in our data center instance were taking more from start to the end, approximately 2 months. Ending with extended maintenance weekends, and it was super difficult to convince our business to have to get them approved. With the move to Atlassian Cloud, we managed to shift all the responsibility for the infrastructure to Atlassian. And on top, we were even able to increase our security level for having our instance hosted at an infrastructure constantly kept up to date with patches. But you, Arun, as a product manager, you certainly have got other aspects to share.
Yes, definitely. So maintaining data center was definitely a pain. It was an overhead for us. But if you ask us, that was the only strategic decision behind this? Definitely not. Because we were impressed with a lot of new features on cloud, especially if I have to name a few, maybe Confluence automations, which came recently, plus the templates, which were shipped out of the box, and then the new editor itself, because it's a VCBig editor. Whatever you see in the view mode is what you see in the edit mode as well. So these are some of the features I would call it out. And on top, all of the feature rollouts, especially it is taken care by the Atlassian itself, and we don't need to worry about the feature rollouts, etc. And in terms of integrations, definitely we are closely working on Microsoft Teams, because for messaging we use Microsoft Teams. So this integration plays a key role between Confluence and Microsoft Teams. Also on top, we have built our own search portal, which we call it as Amadeus Search. It's one-stop solution for all the search needs. So we have integrated multiple data sources, and Confluence plays a main role, and it's one of the important repository for our search platform. And last but not the least, regarding the mobile application, especially the leadership or the people who travel often, so they get the benefit. Maybe they'll get the content on the fly, and they don't need to rely on the laptops or systems. Instead, they can just use the mobile application, which we have installed only on the Amadeus devices. So these were some of the important drivers, which was the main trigger for us to move to the cloud. And now, really, Alina and Eda, maybe we would like to know the actual crew or the team behind who is behind this incredible journey. And maybe you can introduce our travel mates.
Yes, of course. I'm going to take over this part a little bit on why this is a joint project. We strive at Atlassian to support all of our customers who are interested in taking up a cloud migration journey. However, specifically for Amadeus, just a couple of pointers as to why we wanted to make sure that we keep that very strong partnership from the very beginning. When we first started this journey, 2021, we realized that the data shape of Amadeus was something like we haven't really seen before, quite a big data shape. So it definitely helped us build strategy and stronger tools in terms of cloud migration assistance, also for our roadmaps as well. So that was definitely something that helped us build that journey for the upcoming customers who are considering a cloud migration. Obviously, like I said, close participation, that's very, very important to keep that strong collaboration and communication ongoing. And also, last but not least, we kept a bit of a, let's say, hybrid model in terms of licensing to kind of allow Amadeus to also use data center as they were progressing through their cloud migration journey. We're not going to deep dive into the roles that were involved in the project. There will be a lot of people to thank. But Eda, maybe you want to take us through the project organization, a little bit of the rituals that we did to make sure that this was a success.
Thank you, Adina. So for the project organization, how did we manage this project? We built a joint project team together with Atlassian, and on both sides we built core teams and had a weekly core team meeting with both Amadeus and Atlassian experts. And this team was growing very much together during the time with a great spirit of collaboration and working towards project success. We had a regular steering committee also with Amadeus and Atlassian to keep everybody updated on the project progress and to have necessary decisions taken. On the slide you can see the main core teams, and the roles we assigned from Amadeus and Atlassian side. Taking over, Beck.
Thank you, Eda. So now that we have seen we have got to know our destination, Atlassian Cloud, and we also got to know our travel mates, the team of Amadeus and Atlassian. Now it's time to start looking into how we kicked off the preparation phase of our travel. And I would like to start this with a travel map that is basically showing our destination. So this is the Confluence Cloud at Amadeus. This graph is certainly very much simplified, showing our setup with the most important integrations. The approach we have been taking to seek for security approval was to start, first of all, with Confluence Cloud as a closed Atlassian cloud ecosystem. We managed to get this approved by security, and then we looked at all the interfaces that we required and managed to get them gradually approved by agreeing with security office on the measures to be taken. This approach turned out to be really smart. First of all, it was structured and transparent. But secondly, the fact that we got security approval at a very early stage, it allowed us to onboard a lot of early adapters in the Confluence Cloud while we were still following up with security office on the remaining approvals. I would like to start now to have a bit of a discussion with Arun on some of the more important interfaces that we have been working on together with Atlassian. So Arun, you may want to start sharing a bit on the Active Directory integration with Atlassian Guard.
Absolutely. So the first interface, what we built was the line that you see, which is connecting from Active Directory, which is on-prem Active Directory, to the Atlassian Cloud. And you can see Okta as a cloud, a small cloud in the middle. This is because we were synchronizing our users and groups from the Active Directory to the Atlassian Cloud, and we had some challenges with the groups, because we have around 5,000 groups, and all of these groups are nested groups. And for group flattening, Atlassian was recommending us to use Okta as a service so that we flatten the group permissions and we synchronize them to the Atlassian Cloud. Because we do have departments. These groups, whatever we are speaking, it constitutes our departments. And there are often department mergers, department splits, which happens within Amadeus. So in that regard, there'll be multiple groups which get split or it gets merged. So all of this synchronization and the permissions has to be synchronized on the cloud. So this was a bit of a challenge for us, and we took around 8 months continuously working with Okta team and Atlassian to get it implemented. So without having users and groups, we can't open up the service, and this is the primary interface which we built amongst all the 5 interfaces. So now, Herman, maybe you want to talk about the API tokens?
Absolutely. So as we all know, user API tokens are important for developing interfaces with other applications, typically for automation. When we started to work on this project back in 2022, there was no governance for these API tokens provided by Atlassian, meaning API tokens did not have any expiration date. There was no audit logging on any creation or revocation of tokens. Token creation was not restricted or limited to the admins and their managed accounts. And these API tokens, while assigned to an Atlassian cloud user, could be used pretty much in any organization and any site. It was quite a journey to work with Atlassian to have all these gaps addressed, and it took us roughly 18 months.
Yes, so talking about the next interface, which is Jira and Confluence integration. So today we have Jira still on-prem, and Confluence has been moved to the cloud. So this is a hybrid setup, and it's one of its kind because we have to have this integration in place. Because people were expecting the same level of integration, what they had it on data center, even on cloud. So our DevOps community, the development teams, heavily rely on these 2 products. So for that reason, we have asked Atlassian product team to build this secure tunnel, which connects Atlassian organization, the cloud organization, with the Jira on-prem instance. And initially, it was manual effort, and later it got automated, and now it's all self-service. So we do generate a secure token, which we exchange between Confluence Cloud and Jira on-prem. So this was the 3rd important interface, and we took some significant amount of time to get it implemented. Moving on, maybe you want to talk about the third-party apps, Herman?
With pleasure. So in order to go for third-party apps in the cloud, again, we had to have them approved by security. We worked with our security office and agreed on what we called light risk assessment approach that would qualify all those apps for security and privacy. Unfortunately, when we reviewed the apps that were required for us to move to the cloud, the majority of apps did not pass. So we had lots of discussions with Atlassian, encouraging them to enhance their governance on the third-party apps and improve the transparency. And the situation improved over time. The big game changer in this context was when Atlassian launched the Cloud Fortified Apps program, because then we could see that the apps significantly improved. Today, I think we are quite a little bit proud to see that the evaluation forms that we have been discussing at that time back and forth with Atlassian had been implemented as app indicators in the Atlassian marketplace under privacy and security.
That's right. So the final interface, what we want to discuss here is the custom apps which we have built, because we had our own applications. And we have to rewrite completely on cloud, because the one that you see in the leftmost, which says Amadeus custom apps, we were having around 3 apps. And these apps need to be rewritten because the architecture is different, the platform is different. And we hosted this on the Azure tenant. Of course, it has been published on the private marketplace inside Atlassian marketplace. So all these interfaces put together, we took around 1.5 years to get all of these implemented, even before we thought of opening it for the end users. So initially, we had 400 early adopters, and then we gradually opened it for the entire company. And if you ask me, parallelly, we were working on the security aspects as well. And moving on, if you can see this slide where it talks about all the security requirements, the ones which are highlighted in purple, which we have seen already in the previous slide, But other than that, we had multi-factor authentication, especially for the admin accounts, and then single sign-on, which were implemented. Also, in terms of audit logging mechanism, this comes part of the enterprise package, I would say. So we have audit logging capabilities also inside the Confluence Cloud platform today. So we got a sign-off from the security, who's our departure control system. So they said, come on, guys, you're good to go now. So open the service for all the users. They stamped it, and then we opened the service for them. So now, with that, like Herman was mentioning before, we know the destination is to go to the cloud. We have seen the travel mates. The preparation phase is over. So we will see how the journey of migration happened. So over to you, Eda.
Thank you. So now it's going to go to the journey. As we said, service was ready, was approved. We had the first passengers onboarded, our early adopters, to gain some experience. So now, in parallel, we worked to define the migration path, how would we run the migration, and we worked very closely together, Adina, to do this. So maybe you start how we did it.
Yes, definitely. There's different approaches that our customers can take when it comes to migration, but for Amadeus specifically, we opted for a phased migration approach. So what we did is that we completed a migration in 8 separate batches, which varied. They all had between 400 to 800 species to migrate per batch. A batch included both the test and production migration, and if we look at the duration for a batch, we were looking at approximately 6 weeks to complete.
So now, the engine to make the production migration fly was the migration runbook. So we documented each step, we reviewed it, and we tested it. We used a custom jar of the Confluence Cloud Migration Assistant offered by Atlassian to do the migration. This cloud tool, named also CCMA, it's covering the standard migration, standard data, and standard functionality. But it's not covering all that you will need. So we added post and pre-migration steps and scripts to complete the migration. A good example might be a link fixing script. So this was run on Atlassian side as a post-migration script to fix all links on the spaces, move to the cloud to adapt them to work on the cloud environment.
Yes, a little bit on the migration process and collaboration. So we would always aim to do a production migration over a weekend, so Friday to Monday. We definitely worked very hard to optimize that process, to have it run over a weekend, to make sure that we have that business continuity for the users that already landed in cloud. We would always do the attachment preloading before the production migration. This is something that we would recommend to all of our customers. And the shared tasks that Eda mentioned previously with the different scripts that we would do for post-migration activities, those are tasks that are very clearly distributed between our migration support engineers and Amadeus, and also to keep communication ongoing during a production migration, because that's a very critical migration phase. We used Slack. And I'll let Eda talk about the final piece of this, which is the third-party app migration.
Yeah, and this was a critical thing for us. So in our inventory, space inventory, we saw the main business critical apps that have been used by Amadeus. Name it, for example, Draw.io, Easy Dropdown, Komala Workflow from AppFire, or Scroll Documents from K15T. All these apps have also a cloud version, and the Confluence Cloud Migration Assistant from Atlassian does not migrate this app data, or at least not the full functionality. So we worked together with these third-party app providers to find a migration path. In a lot of cases, we had to add scripts to our migration runbook, and it's not working completely seamlessly. So the users would face some constraints just due to the fact that these apps are for sure working differently on cloud than they are on data center. Also, they would have some workload. For example, for the Komala workflow, all of these workflows have to be translated to a JSON format before we can even translate them, transfer them to the cloud. Just this shared how we run the migration here, and also we run it with a phased approach. I would like to discuss how we now organize these phases. And there you can see, I'm just looking, because it's not coming correctly, this slide, but I will just do it in text now. This phase started with a leading time to inform the users and shared with them what the benefits they could expect on the cloud, and also we shared with them what we expected from them to support the migration and the constraints they would have. We did it with mail and with user sessions. Afterwards, we did a test migration, so we moved all these defined batch of spaces first to a test environment and asked the users to validate. So we could fix already some of these, some issues prior to the migration, to the production migration. Then over a weekend, we ran the production migration, and after this, we had some hypercare phase. So first, the user was getting a mail to tell them, okay, this is your migrated space, this is your new URL, and also we put this as a banner on the migrated spaces. And in the hypercare phase, the team was concentrating to fix all the tickets, and we had around 30, 40 tickets per batch, but considering that we had 400 until 800 spaces in each of these batches. So now we wanted to talk about the scope. So what did we migrate? Not only how we did it, but what was in the migration scope, Adina?
Yes, so what we call in scope is basically data that Amadeus decided to move from on-prem to cloud. So we had the global spaces, you can see over 4,000 qualified spaces, permissions and restrictions on these said spaces and their related pages, links, templates, so that user adoption is easier. We want to keep the same page layout for easy user interaction once they landed in cloud. And last but not least, calendars and comments. And Edda, maybe you want to mention what you left outside of scope.
So thank you. Yeah. It was decision from Amadeus to keep out of the scope the spaces considered not to be in use, namely spaces with 0 until 1 page, archived spaces, or also spaces where we did not have any administrator. Also, we decided to put personal spaces out of scope. From functionality, what is out of scope is the sidebar customizations, header and footer. These would be lost, and also the users have to newly create things like bookmarks, start and watch on the page. There have been more migration constraints, but I would not list them all. This is the main what we saw what was running here. It's important to know that the migrated spaces come up with a legacy editor on cloud, so the users would have to transfer them to the new editor to profit from the look and feel that we expect on Confluence Cloud. Moving ahead, so me as a project manager, I'm always keen on milestones, so I would like to wrap up how this whole migration went. We started in 2021 with the first kickoff already together with Atlassian. Then, as shared by Hermann and Arun, we reached the service operational readiness, the security stamp, and we had the first early adopters onboarded. We started with a pilot migration wave in April 2023. We chose 400 spaces, small spaces, not very heavily used, and we migrated them to cloud, and it it ran very, very smoothly. Also at this time, we stopped the creation of new spaces in data center and directed the users to the cloud because we had to fix our scope, not creating new spaces in the legacy environment anymore. And then the journey execution began, and we went into turbulences for the very first wave that we did after the pilot wave. So we had some third-party apps on board on the spaces. We had more complex spaces, and we had issues with the script, but also with the collaboration process. And at this stage, we tuned the whole thing, we hardened the scripts, we reworked our collaboration together. And after this done, we had to stop the wave, we started it again, but after this, more or less, it went smoothly. It took some time, but we made our path to the migration. And now in October 24, we are almost done. The last wave is underway. And yes, we nearly reached our destination, and I would hand over to Arun to share some adoption figures.
Thank you, Eda. Thank you for sharing the wonderful journey and explaining all the milestones which we went through. So now let's talk about some numbers. Being a product manager, I'm more excited to speak about these numbers. We have had around 16,000 plus users who are using cloud on a monthly basis. And at some point, it touched even 18,000, which was our maximum license capacity. And we had to increase the license capacity from 18,000 seats to 20,000 seats last week. So you know what? We are 20,000 people at Amadeus, and the whole company is on it. And please don't ask me what 20,000 people are doing it on Confluence, because it's not just one department. It's all the departments across Amadeus using Confluence and effectively using this collaboration and knowledge sharing tool. And it's my responsibility to increase this adoption rate as well. So I'm working on it. And if I have to speak about the spaces, we had around 4,000 plus spaces which we migrated. And from 2021 until 2024, we have got around 7,000 spaces which were newly created. So which adds up to 11,000 spaces. So we give maximum freedom for the people to host their content and with minimum of governance. In terms of pages, we have more than 1 million pages which we host inside Confluence Cloud today. And talking about the Atlassian Intelligence feature, since we are on enterprise subscription plan, we were able to activate this Atlassian Intelligence, and which is a game changer for sure. Because if I have to talk about a little bit on the features, summarizing pages, you must have seen in the expo as well, in the event itself, where they were talking about how you can summarize comments, create content within Confluence using Atlassian Intelligence. Because Confluence acts as a single source of truth for us, even before the content gets out to the customer's hands, it's going through some approval process. We have Kamala workflows in place. We get it approved inside Confluence, and the published content goes to the customer. So in order to make it more efficient, plus looking more professional, Atlassian Intelligence is helping us a lot, I would say. So these are some impressive numbers which I want to share in terms of adoption. And we are very happy to say that we are fully leveraging the Confluence Cloud service. Moving on, this is a sample page, a welcoming page, which we have created for our users. This is a landing page. Of course, we have got a dedicated space which we have created. And we are hosting how-to articles, troubleshooting articles, and nice user guides, how to use the service, because it's a new service. And we have been educating people that Confluence Data Center is different and Confluence Cloud is different, because these two are two different platforms. And we are not migrating like a lift and shift. Instead, it's a data migration. And Confluence Cloud offers new functionality which you might not see in data center. But of course, it's not having 100% parity, and people are expecting certain features on data center which is not there on cloud. And we are trying our best to help them out, saying that this is different platform, and educating them all about the new features, what we have on cloud. And we don't want to leave you just by listening to our story. Instead, we want to share some key takeaways from the session so that you can implement in your organization if you're thinking of moving to the cloud. Over to you, Eda.
Thank you, Arun. So this is always an important part of such a session, to share the key takeaways. So to start, what is key to have a good inventory of your environment? Yeah? So you should know what is on the spaces. Do you have automations? Do you have third-party apps or whatever? And you should know who is owning the space to interact with the users. Also, it's key to set user expectations. You should inform your users on the very much pretty things they will get, the new features on the cloud, but also on the migration constraints, the changes, and what you expect from them to support you. And the champions team is helping a lot on this. For the user acceptance test and user validation phase, we figured out it's key to run it. We had some discussions because this process was quite long, and we discussed, could we skip it? Could we just go to the production migration? But every time it helped us to fix issues even before we went to production migration, because the users know best what is key for their space to work, and it's really important to keep it in. And the last on this, and not the least one, you should have a stable project team throughout the migration. This is and with knowledgeable people for sure, and we are happy we had them. So this is really making a difference. And Arun, handing over to you for the more technical part of the key takeaways.
Yes, thank you. So regarding the technical key takeaways, the customizations, right? The CCMA tool itself, the Confluence Cloud Migration Assistant, whatever we were using. So it went through multiple iterations, and we were working with closely with Atlassian, and we have a custom jar which we developed. And I'm pretty sure some of these features, what we have built for our enterprise scale, would benefit a lot of other customers. And this custom jar has been dedicatedly built for Amadeus, and it took care of all the app migrations as well, and not just the content migration. And in terms of scripts, we had a lot of pre-migration scripts and the post-migration scripts. Just to name a few, we were using links, because as you might know, we have internal links, external links, tiny links. There are a lot of links inside Confluence. So we were using scripts with the help of Atlassian. We developed scripts to migrate these links and fix these links. And apart from links, we were having permissions on the restricted content, I would say, because we have a lot of restricted pages, and it's not so easy to migrate the data of the third-party apps which are hosted inside the restricted pages. So we have to apply some scripts so that we remove the restrictions, we migrate the content, and then apply the restrictions back on cloud. So this kind of a workaround we worked out with Atlassian so that we can mitigate this limitation. So this is an important step as well for us. And third point, regarding the security, we have already seen a slide where we listed all our security requirements. Maybe we'll share this presentation later. It might help you in applying these security principles in your organization. Last one, regarding the data backup. So we want to have an in-house backup. And in terms of a disaster recovery, we know that Atlassian will be able to recover the whole instance. But still, in case of any accidental deletions of spaces, right? So we thought it would be making more sense for us to have a local backup. And we worked closely with Atlassian to develop a command line interface tool, a small utility, which we are using to back up all the spaces on our on-prem instance, on-prem storage service. And then we will be able to restore specific spaces in case of any need to restore those. So these were some of the important key takeaways. And last sentence, as it says, if we were able to successfully migrate to the cloud, so as any enterprise, so don't wait for it, just go for it. And before we wind up, I would like to ask Herman to put us the roadmap or the next steps of Confluence Cloud within Amadeus.
Thank you very much, Arun. So you have heard we are in the process to reach our destination, Confluence Cloud, and we would not call ourselves travel enthusiasts if we would not start already planning our next travel. So our next travel, the destination will be enhancing the user experience, and we have come up with the listed 5 travel stops, aka deliverables. First of all, a consolidation of instances. Yes, it's true, we still have a couple of other smaller instances, shared instances, both on data center and in the cloud, that we will be looking into consolidating them in the cloud, preferably in the same organization for enhancing the governance. Secondly, we are looking into improving security and compliance by deployment of Atlassian Guard Premium. Here is important to say that for many years we have been working at Amadeus with data classification using a custom developed app developed by ourselves. We will be able now to replace this, to move it to the next level while applying policies. And Atlassian Guard Premium will also allow us to crawl for content, to identify sensitive information that should not be hosted on Confluence Cloud. As we already heard a couple of times, user adoption is key, and we will continue on this journey. We will be continuing running information sessions. We will also continue with our user trainings that we are offering as part of our user academy, and we will also offer consulting services that would provide support to business units that want to have their use cases implemented in Confluence Cloud. We also implemented Atlassian Intelligence a couple of months ago with very good success and very great feedback from our users. We are just identifying what the best way to upgrade to Rovo, and I think Team 24 has been giving us some really good inspirations on this. And last but not least, over the last couple of months, we have been gathering quite a lot of requirements coming from our users, from our communities, asking for further integrations of Confluence Cloud. And in the coming months, we will be gradually implementing them. Just to name a few more prominent examples: integration with Miro, enhanced integration with Teams, and also looking into deployment of Loom and integrating it into our business processes. And this is, I think, now more or less the end of our story. Thank you very much. I hope, on behalf of the whole team, for your attention. I hope you enjoyed having been traveling with us, and maybe see you soon again. Thank you.